Good morning. Welcome to Fridays with Foster. My camera looks a little bit odd. Here we go. This is called figuring it out on the spot. There we go. This has been an interesting morning. I'm down here at Logic Works, my office space, and they actually have a wonderful little coffee shop, and a young lady named Hannah is very good at making espressos. This is double espresso. I tried to get the information on the coffee. They couldn't give it to me, but whatever. So here we go. That's great, man. That's great. And I need it. So yeah, this is going to be a different Fridays with Foster. Today's topic is uncannily apropos, reacting versus adapting. So my daughter, Emma, as I had mentioned before, she's on the autism spectrum, and she recently graduated from high school last week, which we were incredibly grateful for because we just didn't, there was a point where I did not think she was going to graduate from high school, be able to. She struggled a lot in school, but she persevered. It's very impressive. Very proud of her. Very proud of her. She spoke at graduation, which was wonderful and touching. So the question is, and this is going to relate to everything we talk about today, but the question is, so now what for my daughter, right? So now what? And the now what part was going to be relating more specifically to a program that, there we go, that I could get her involved in to help teach her some life skills, because she just needs some tools that she doesn't have right now to be able to get a job and hold a job and do the things that she wants to do. And so we found a place in Knoxville, and a wonderful place called Pasadena Villa. It's a really great residential facility, actually. And we went through the last week. They started taking insurance, which is great, because if not, I think it's like $30,000 a month or something like that, which is crazy. But at any rate, so we were going through those steps, and she was going back and forth. The admissions director was going back and forth with us. Emma was willing to have a conversation with her, which was great, and we're thinking, wow, this might be this next step. And then afterwards, if she wanted to go to college or do something or go to art school or whatever she wanted to do, she would maybe have the tools to do that. So I just found out 10 minutes before this call that they're not going to let her in. They feel, and I'm not questioning them. I don't disagree. They know their program. I know my daughter, but they know their program. And so they just feel that she would be too overwhelmed there, and it wouldn't really be helpful for her. To be honest, I'm just crushed. I wasn't really trying not to get too excited about it, because everything in the past that we had gotten excited about for my daughter, we had kind of blown up or didn't work out. New schools. I mean, the school that she just graduated from is the one thing that's worked out, and that was 4 years. I think she was there, which is the longest time she was at any one place that kept her, where she didn't leave and they didn't kick her out and that kind of stuff. So, and I was just kept saying, like, I'm cautiously optimistic, but then there was that little part inside me that was like really excited about her getting some direction in her life and some help, because she's often, asking for help. So I'm at a bit of a, I'm having a moment. That's what I'm doing. On Facebook, you guys get to witness me having a moment. This is my moment. So, reacting. The definition for reacting is to respond or behave in a particular way in response to something. I had a physical and emotional reaction when the admissions director told me that they weren't taking Emma. This also happens in business, right? We have a reaction. Oh, I can't tell you how many people. I mean, some people might understand this, some might not. Where they are literally excited about the person that they're going to hire, and the person is either a no-show. They go through the interview process and they're a no-show. Sometimes that's just because they want to, sometimes they don't show up for the interview because they just want to say that they're out there searching for a job so they can continue to collect unemployment. But sometimes it's just lack of communication. They're like, interviewing for 3 jobs at once, and they just don't bother to tell you they're taking another job, or they use it as a bargaining chip, whatever. But that reaction is, and I've heard it in the voices of my clients before, especially in the trades. I've got HVAC clients right now that obviously with the weather, what is it, 75 now? So 75 degrees at 10 o'clock in Louisville is pretty good. Yesterday it was almost 90. Their season within 3 days just kicked up, and so they need that help. So when those types of things fall through, there's an emotional reaction to that of sometimes we're screwed, or uh-oh, here we go again. And that's some of the same stuff that I'm feeling regarding the situation with my daughter, where I want to get, so my initial reaction is I'm sad. I don't know how angry I am. I'm frustrated, and I feel bad for my daughter because she needs help, and I am trying. So here's where I go with it. The really negative side of it is to go into self-pity and make it about me. Why me? Why us? Like, it's not about me. This is about my daughter, right? But as a parent, I put a certain amount of pressure on myself, or as a business owner, I put a certain amount of pressure on myself that I have to perform in a certain way. I have to do a certain thing, and I have to do it right because people depend on me, families depend on me. Depending on on the industry, the customers and clients depend on me for something that they can't get elsewhere. Especially, I've got another client that runs a therapy practice. Well, that's a pretty significant part of people's lives, right? When you get into therapy and they actually start changing your life, and if something should happen and you couldn't continue your business, it would have an effect on people's lives. So I understand that level of pressure. And I'm not suggesting that we should not have feelings about these things that we encounter in business and sometimes in our personal life. My goodness, from a family business, there's just, emotion and business just go hand in hand in family business. So reacting, so that's reacting. Now, when you first start a business, the one thing I do want to say about reaction, it's really important to be nimble. When you first start, and for an example, my grandfather, who started our McCarl's Incorporated HVAC company outside of Pittsburgh, started the company in 1946. It was actually like a plumbing storefront. If I had some pictures that I'd throw them up so you could see, but it was just like a plumbing storefront. They sold toilets and bathtubs and things like that. And so they eventually grew to be I would say maybe a $75 million mechanical contracting company, where they were working on jobs in the University of Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh International Airport, and large universities, and a little bit of biotech, mostly industrial and commercial. And so there were these opportunities here for people to grow with the company, right? In the beginning, they had to be nimble, and what happened? So in the first few years, when they were working out of the plumbing storefront, around Christmas time, they actually needed to make ends meet. So what did they do? Started selling trains. So they sold model trains out of the storefront because they had to be able to adapt in a quicker way, which is almost that that reaction part, like the adaptation was not really in play there because there wasn't really a process or something they thought through. They reacted, right? So a reaction is more of an emotional, quick adaptation. And so you can do that whenever you're small. If you're gonna, if they were at $75 million in revenue, if they were going to create a model train department and start selling model trains aside their mechanical contracting work, that would have been difficult and crazy. But the important thing to note is that when they had to do it, they could do it. Now what happens with a lot of people, and that's a big jump, by the way, that's a 54-year jump between the storefront and when we sold the company to PP&L. So within that time, though, there's a lot of struggle and strife where we still have that reactionary mentality, right? Where we want to react and be nimble, but the cost of doing that is much more than the benefit of reacting. And that's where I like to think of adaptation. Adaptation, for as much as you may or may not believe in Darwinism, and seeing over time how creatures and situations adapt. A giraffe, the giraffe's neck did not grow in a year to adapt with the surroundings to eat. There's a timeline involved. There's a process involved. So, so how am I going to adapt to this, man? Get back to me with my daughter. Debbie, sorry, that's a great break. So my cousin Debbie, thanks for being on here, Deb. Emotion is a part of most business. Yes, if you are invested, I do not know how you cannot be committed without investing in an emotional level. When people are involved, there are emotions. Sometimes for myself, they get the better of us. Oh, that's probably just the Croatian in you, Debbie. It happens with me as well. And so I think there's a great level of that emotion that we do have that I look at as something intrinsically connected to the passion with which we do what we do. It's got to be emotive. I think the thing that's difficult is that last part that you said, how do I stay emotionally intact and involved with my business and my profession without allowing that to overtake me, right? At different times. Because there are times when it's not appropriate, and there are times when it's not convenient to react a certain way, and there are times when it's not convenient to have emotions. Just having the news that I got that now it's 20 minutes ago, 25 minutes ago about my daughter, that's not convenient. And I'll be honest with you, when I picked up that call, I mean, I was expecting to be able to come on here with you guys and say, oh, look at this next step with my daughter, and we've been adapting, and this is where it's gotten us to adapt. And instead, it's a gut punch. And I'm allowed to have feelings. Well, we're all allowed to have feelings, and we're not robots. And so even in your business, when somebody upsets you, when an employee disappoints you, when a client fires you, when these things happen, it's okay. One of the things that I love to remember, which sounds really great when you're not in the throes of it, is don't let the feelings you've got prevent you from taking the actions necessary to change those feelings. And so the feelings that I have now, I'm angry, I'm definitely sad, I'm confused, I feel like we're back to square one. My daughter doesn't have a future. So I go into that negative. My daughter doesn't have a future. Now she's not going to be fulfilled. She's going to stay in her room and be on her computer for the rest of her life. And I go into all these ridiculous scenarios. And then those feelings of helplessness and hopelessness make me want to cut and run. Like today, like I'm like, okay, it's 10:15. What else do we have going on? Maybe I can go escape and go have a cigar and do some reading and just escape. But I've got work to do today, man. I really can't. I can't do that. So I can't let the feelings that I've got prevent me from taking the actions that are necessary to change those feelings. In business, I can't let the feelings that I've got prevent me from making the changes I need to make to improve that business situation just because I'm angry or hurt or upset by it or frustrated. Man, business is just frustrating. It just can be. There's some great highs. There are some low lows. And I think it's about trying to keep an even keel emotionally and otherwise so I can have an opportunity to adapt. I obviously am going to give myself a little bit of room to breathe with this thing with my daughter and do what I can to be open to other options and adapt and not feel defeated and not take this personal, not make it about me. The thing that's a struggle, though, this is starting to sound like, is this Fridays with Foster? Can we do therapy with Foster instead of Fridays with Foster? Seems to be more appropriate. The thing that's difficult is I start to have some pity because I put myself in her shoes or try to, and what's it like to be her, to be frustrated and to not have direction. How is she going to take the news? Maybe she'll be excited. Maybe she's like, you know what, Dad, I was just entertaining this for you. and so if she's not disappointed about it, is this wasted energy and wasted emotion that I've got? I don't know. So I think it's interesting. And part of that, I think the important thing is to look and have compassion for, so in my case, having compassion for Emma. In business, maybe having compassion for somebody, a client who's going through challenges, or an employee who's going through challenges, or a partner who's going through challenges in your business, and maybe reaching out and having more of an actual connection with them to better be able to help them change. And I think that's my number one priority. And I don't know if I've said this on here before, but I told a client yesterday and they liked it. I realized I hadn't told them before. My purpose is changing lives, but one of the things that I like to focus on is in all areas of my life, my purpose is to create an emotionally safe environment for people to express themselves with whatever's going on. Not like a therapist, but if I'm coaching people and they can't be honest with me because they're afraid of X, Y, or Z, I can't truly help them. So I have to create a safe emotional environment for that. I have to create a safe emotional environment for my wife, for what she needs to talk about, for strategic partners, what's important to you, so I can help you achieve that goal. For my daughter, what's important to you, which is challenging because sometimes she doesn't really know because, being on the autism spectrum, her problem might be that she needs a bigger screen for a computer, and that would solve all her problems. I don't know. Okay, so how do we close this up? We're going to close this up by killing this first. We're going to take a deep breath. Don't forget to breathe. Adaptation, again, is becoming adjusted to new conditions. I think the most important thing is to determine what those new conditions are, rather than simply saying the new conditions are simply not what I thought they were going to be. So the new condition is not what it was, not what I thought it was going to be. So you don't actually talk about what the new condition is, we talk about what it is not. And that's not really helpful because we obviously know what it's not, but let's determine now, what is it? How can I rebound from this? Winston Churchill said success is going from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. I wouldn't say that we've necessarily failed in this situation with my daughter, or that my clients that have somebody not show up for their first day as failure in any way, shape, or form. But there is really, when I can get out of the emotional reactive side of it, there's a lesson to be learned here. And as I see myself through this situation, I can better help somebody else who may be suffering or going through something similar. I wouldn't say suffering. And I think the first thing I need to do is I need to look at all the wonderful things to be grateful for. I'm going to go through a quick list here with you guys. I have a wonderful wife whom I love and loves me very much. I have 3 children that are physically healthy and fairly happy. I have a roof over my head. I definitely have food in the fridge. We've got air conditioning in our house. My parents are both still alive and healthy. I've got a good relationship with my family. I'm healthy today. I've got a spiritual relationship with a God today. I'm on paper I'm Catholic, but I'm concerned about how I can be of service to other people. So that's probably the best place for us to start. So when you find yourself reacting negatively in a situation, take a moment, make a quick gratitude list. It helps reframe things. So I don't know that I'll update everybody on this next week. We'll see. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But thanks for listening if you got this far. Hopefully this was somewhat helpful for you all from here in the sound booth at Logic Works in Nulu. This is Foster with Fridays with Foster signing off. Have a great weekend.